All right, well, I think it's time, so we can get started. Good afternoon. I'm Brandon Finley, and we're here to have a chat about the updated burial search. I'm going to share my screen with a quick presentation, and then we'll jump into the software. All right, so some notes today as we get started. We do have I think our attendees come in on mute. If you have a question, you can either raise your hand or ask it into the chat. And we will have some time for questions at the end as well. But I think since we have a small group, feel free to ask a question at any time. And thank you in advance for joining us today. So why did we choose to overhaul Burial Search? Burial Search, the public portal for your cemetery information has been pretty static since we released it in 2017. We felt that it was time for an update to make it easier to use and improve the look and feel of the interface. And we also wanted to give our clients a level of control so that they can change the settings and control what's shown in Burial Search without having to call us. Give them more ability to make those kinds of changes themselves. So who's the team behind Burial Search? Joining me today is Nathan Kavanaugh and Sarah Daly. Nathan's been with us since 2017 and was the developer for Burial Search 1.0. He's been part of the implementation for several hundred cemeteries, and Sarah joined our team last summer, but she's been working in web development since 2014. So let's take a look at the Burial Search, and with that, I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to Nathan.
Okay. Let me share my screen here. Okay. So this is the new Burial Search. This is showing our demo cemetery here. We can see we've got the title up at the top and a logo and a location or tagline. We got the quick search that works off of searching for typing in a name very quickly and hit enter or click search, and you'll get the first 10 search results with the remainders showing up on additional pages as well. For the 10 that or so that are displayed, they will be highlighted on a map if you are using Sims Platinum. And then as you highlight over top of them, a little marker appears to show you where, and then clicking zooms you to that space, highlights it, and then gives the space information along with any other images that are with that. You can go back to the search result, click on another one, or go back to the home, and then from here, choose other searches. There is a advanced search for people that are looking for more than just a name or they need to filter things down. They can choose from any one of these extra filters to add in. We can add in a filter of veteran. We can add in a filter of war, and then we can choose yes for veteran, and then World War II, and then I just want a listing of all of those and do a search. And now I have a listing of all the veterans who were listed as being in World War II. So the question then becomes, how do you control this? How do you get the customization to this? How can I set the title? How can I set what appears in the advanced search? Whether or not I want to have these extra built-in searches that show me available spaces or show me a list of all the veterans. All of that is done through Sims. So I'll pull up Sims here. And then inside of Sims, under the utilities menu at the top, we can click that and then come down to Burial Search settings. I'll click on the Burial Search settings, and then that pulls up a page listing with all of the settings with various different tabs across the top. The last tab I was in was space messages, and so let's go back to the beginning here. So under the header and footer tab, this is where you can control things such as your logo. we can find a new logo. We can get a nice friendly logo and open that up there. And now we've got my dog Lula now as the logo for the cemetery. We can change the name. Instead of Guardian Angels, we can call it Lula Cemetery. If you don't want the font to be the default of Georgia, you have various different choices to choose from. We can choose Old English, and then down here we can see what it looks like in the demo. And then we can set that to be bold or unbold and set the size as necessary. And then fill in other information. You can choose to have a tagline or not. And if you choose not to, then the options for that tagline will be pulled away. And then you can choose to show a footer. And if you do choose to show a footer, you're asked, do you want to repeat the cemetery name? And then what address do you want to have, phone number, and email address. And then once you have that to where you like them, you can just click Save Settings. You can go back to Burial Search and do a refresh. And there it is. There's my wonderful Lula. And now we've got everything all set to the way that we want it to be shown. Continuing on, under the basic settings, this is where you have the About section, where you can enter in information about your cemetery, possibly maybe even some additional contact information if necessary, such as another information such as your hours of operations and rules and regulations as to what flowers or plants and other items that people leave behind are allowed or not allowed. You can put in a link to a web page that will appear underneath of the About Us. And then here you can also choose the preset searches, one to list all the veterans in order by location, or list the available spaces, and then a subset of options to show cost and space type with those available as well. And then here's an option that will allow that main window in Burial Search to be minimized if you so choose to do so. The next option is for map settings. As you can see here in Sims, I have various settings set for my map, which I find under the layer settings in Sims. And then I can choose what colors and fonts and things that I want. And if I want to have separate colors for the public facing portal than what I have for my personal user in Sims, we can adjust that as well. So going back to utilities to the Burial Search settings, here under Map tab, under the layers, I can click this button and it opens up this almost the same window, but we can see here that these are map layer settings for Burial Search. So any changes I make here will not affect Sims, it will only affect Burial Search. So if I wanted to, right now we're just showing Google Maps on Burial Search, but we can go back and choose the ortho photo, which was done by flying our drone over top of the cemetery and taking a much clearer image of the cemetery. I can choose with the block, if I don't want the yellow outline, I want more of a darker purple outline, I can choose that as well. And then for the font size for the block labelings, we can kick that up, make those bold, change those fonts if necessary. And the same thing with the lots. And with the spaces, we can start making those transparent so that they shine through to the ortho layer behind. And then we can also turn off these layers so that the spaces do shine through appropriately. Then save that. And then we can come back here to Burial Search and do a refresh. And so now it's showing the ortho photo instead of the Google Map photo. And as I zoom in, I can now see the spaces and the colors are a little translucent, allowing me to see the ortho image behind. And so once you have all the colors and various other items set to your liking, you can close out the map settings, and then you can move on to the next set of settings. And this is for the legend. If you have various other statuses that you don't wish to show. Maybe you don't want to say what is reserved, or maybe these custom statuses that aren't necessary to be shown. You can do that. Maybe you do want to show that veterans are highlighted, and maybe you want to show what a burial that has the hash marks on it means that it's a future burial. So we can turn all that on and then save the settings, do a refresh. And now here we have just the standard settings with the future burial and the flagging information. The next section is hidden areas. Some cemeteries may have an area in the cemetery that they don't want shown because it's not a real area. For example, let me close this out of the way. In Sims, we have this area here in our demo cemetery, and this is the unknown section. This means that these burials are in the cemetery, we just don't know where. But in order to have a place that we can get to their information quickly and easily, we put them into a separate section outside the cemetery where we can store that information until we can find exactly where they're supposed to be. But we don't want this to be displayed on our publicly facing portal, so we can set it up to be hidden. As we can see here, that section does not exist. Also, anything that is set to be hidden, any of that information contained in therein will not appear in a search either. So in order to hide this section or any other section, we can go into the utilities, burial search settings, and then on the map, we can come down and select the section. We can select the block, and then we can select the individual lot that we want to have removed. So if we were to remove 2, and then I can add that to the list, and now save our settings. Come back and do a refresh. So now we can see that lot 2 of section or block B is no longer appearing. Now, you can also hide the entire block if necessary. And if I add that to the list, it's going to let me know that you already have a section or a lot in there. Are you sure you want to hide the entire thing? And we'll say yes, and we'll replace it here. And doing so can cause a bit of an issue, so you should be careful about your selections, because this will now remove the entire block. So when choosing any sections or blocks or lots to remove, just make sure that you are selecting appropriately. So we'll just take that out of the list and save that. There is a way to remove specific spaces. I will close this out, and then we'll go to a different area of the cemetery. So if I had, say, a controversial burial here, somebody who I don't wish to advertise, or the family has asked for this not to be something that is publicly available or easily found, we can open up that space in Sims, and on the ownership tab, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can remove the checkbox from here. And then when we go back and refresh in Sims, we can find that that space itself is no longer there. The blue that you're seeing right here is from the lot color as it's shining through the empty space. So you can remove individual spaces through Sims on the ownership tab for each space. But removing entire lots or blocks or sections is done through the burial search settings. The next tab is, this is what appears in the information page on burial search, and also what is allowed to be searched within burial search. And so these are where you pick and choose the items that you wish to have. The first one is your location information is always shown for every cemetery. There's a short location and a long location. There are some cemeteries that have a combination of 4 levels and 3 levels. And in order for Sims to work with that kind of cemetery, we have to use a placeholder section. Generally, it's like lot X or block X. We can add in a special query for those cemeteries so that that level does not appear in the location if necessary. And if that is something that your cemetery needs, just contact us directly and we can get that set up for you. Otherwise, from here, you can pick and choose other options for spaces. So if I wanted to add in the space type as something that can be searched, I click there and it adds it to the list. And then I can click and drag that up and down to where I want that to appear. And let's just put that right above funeral home there. Otherwise, I can move things around that are there up and down. However, whatever order I want those to appear in. And these are custom inputs that were created, otherwise known as user-defined fields. And then you can decide to include those as well too. There's the interred information that has been selected. And if you want to add in other additional information, you can just click to add that. Or if you don't want to have something that's there removed, you can just click and it will pull it out of the list. And we have veteran information. So veteran, yes or no, their branch, rank, or war, and then entered service, discharge date, and veteran remarks can be included. And then additional customer information, such as maiden name, also known as names, and in customer remarks. And then if there is any other column that you would like to have added that we don't have a checkbox for, let us know, and then we can get that added into your cemetery's listing. And then that will appear here under the additional columns if necessary. Underneath is our name display. How do you want names to be displayed? You can choose to include the modifier or honorifics, or also known as a prefix, and then the order in which you want the name to appear with first, last, and possible middle. And then if you want the suffix to be included as well. And as you change these right here, you will see the example that shows what that looks like there. And then for any veterans, do you want to also include their rank, branch, and more in their display? The last option is an additional search to search by owners. Currently, all searching that is selected up here is assumed that this is based on the interred. Whereas if you add this in, you'll have an additional search in your advanced search that allows you to do a simple search of owner. Last is the space messages. So when you click on a space in the cemetery map and burial search, certain information on the information page will be displayed. So for available spaces, I will see the status of available, but I can turn that off if I want to. And then I have the standard message, which is going to show the space type is available for a cost, and then please contact them for more details. If I wanted to say something completely different here, I can choose the custom option here and then type this in to have that show up. And then in the text that I type in, I can put in placeholders of cost in between square brackets, and then we will automatically replace that with the actual spaces cost. And the same thing with the space type placeholder. Or if I want no message to appear, I can choose none. For a sold space, I like the standard, but I don't want to put in when it was sold and how much. So I'm just going to remove those from the standard message. Again, you could choose custom if necessary or none. And then you have the other statuses as well too, reserved, restricted, and then of course the additional custom statuses that you can add in yourself through the edit cemetery. And once you have everything set, we can click Save Settings. We can go back to Burial Search and give it a refresh here. and then I can zoom in, and I can click here on this reserved space. And so now I can see the reserved information. I can click on the sold space, and I can see that it was sold, but again, it did not show the cost or the date. And I can click on an available space here, which is now showing, I can buy that space, and it's a ground space and cannot be used for any cremations. And then if I click on this space here, I can see that the cost, and it's a premium ground space. Premium being because it's close to the road and under the shade of the oak tree. And so I can see up here, here's another one that should be a premium, but as I click on it, I can see it's a ground space. So I could go back to Sims and close that out. Open that space. And I can set the ground space to premium. Update its cost. Update here. Save that. And then we'll come back here. We'll just click off and click back on. And so now you can see as you update in Sims, those updates become viewable automatically in Burial Search. Okay. Let's go here. The other thing to note is the new Burial Search does allow you to choose to have a PDF appear and not just images. And those are done on a space-by-space basis by opening up that space. And we can come down to
This is Sarah really quick. That is so nice.
here.
Because now we can put obituaries and stuff.
Yes.
So that's very nice. Thank you.
Well,
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sarah.
So we can see here under the burial tab, we have some media, and then each image always had this icon here. When the icon is red, that means the image does not appear in Burial Search. And if I go here to the PDF, it now has the icon where you can choose if it's going to appear. And since it's green, it will be there. So after you upload a media or a PDF item, you'll then see the red icon, and then you'll just need to click that to get that to go. If I go back here and I click this, and it turns that green. And so now if I go back to Burial Search, and we'll just click off and click back on, we will now see we have two media items. One being the PDF, that if you click it, it opens it up in a separate window. And then the other being an image, and then that knows to open that up in a larger screen where it can then be printed or even popped out into its own tab.
This is Sarah again. Do most people display their burial transit permits publicly? Have you found?
No, not that I am aware of. But
Yeah, I'd say in general, documents are not shared. The kind of stuff that's shared a lot is pictures of headstones and obituaries.
Okay, yep.
This is just
okay.
a demo cemetery, so we have some abnormalities.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. Thank you. Yeah, that's how we display too, is the photos of maybe the person, the headstone, and then the obituary.
I was just kind of grabbing images at random, and so that's what these just happen to be. There is always the media tab on every space, and then this will collect all of the various different media for the individuals that are out there, and then from here you can, or from the various tabs, and then from here you can choose to turn things on and off in Burial Search as well too. Okay. And that is the burial search settings in a nutshell. Is there any questions?
I don't have any questions, but this is Sarah again. Thank you so much. We love the new search and being able to print out the maps instead of doing screenshots where somebody's lot is. That was really nice too.
Oh,
Crystal
yes.
and I were playing with that yesterday. So great
yes,
job,
the-
team.
The new print option.
Mm-hmm.
When you print, you do get the four maps, the overview, and then several zoom levels, getting you closer to the space, along with the details. From here, there is also the standard print option on the side, where you can then choose the size of the print and then the orientation that suits you best. With all of these prints, you can adjust the zoom levels on each one before sending it straight to the printer. Same thing with this level here. Again, you can use your mouse scroll wheel to zoom these and drag these around as necessary. So if this particular one didn't have enough of the landmarks on it, you can pull it out as well to help with the navigation. And then speaking of navigation, I'm going to get my cell phone here. And let me get that shared. Okay. All right. So from here, I'm just going to launch the Safari browser built into my iPhone, but on an Android phone, you would probably use the Chrome browser. Either or will work. I'm going to pull that up. And then I already had a cemetery nearby, St. Aloysius, loaded up. But you can kind of see that while you still have all of the same information here, and I can even still do searches and get information. Apparently there's only one there, and pull that up. I have this item down at the bottom of the screen with the URL bar and then all the navigation and share information that kind of gets in the way and makes navigation on here a little bit difficult. So the one thing you can do is hit the share icon and then scroll down, and where you have the option down at the bottom that says add to home screen. And then it's going to ask me, what kind of name do I want to give it? I'm just going to go with the standard burial search, St. Aloysius, and then just hit add. And so this puts an icon on my home page here. And so I can now tap that icon, and it's going to load up the same web page, but it's going to do it in full screen mode, which this actually makes for a much better experience. And so from here, I can open up the map to full screen, which then allows me to zoom in, and then I can pick a space, and I can tap, and it's loaded up the information, but you can't see it because my map's on full screen. But I can reduce that again by tapping in the upper corner, and now I can see the details here. And then, since I'm using a cell phone that has GPS capabilities, I can tap the navigate to space, and then I can get Google navigation or walk to space. And if I choose walk to space, I now are going to be asked for permission to use the GPS and the orientation. And then it's going to take a little bit of time because I'm inside. So we'll see if it gets the GPS. There it is. And we can see now that I have my little GPS marker showing where I am on the map. And then way out here is the cemetery with the highlighted space that I am attempting to go to.
About, 84,000 feet away?
Yeah. So I am several miles away from the closest cemetery. But as I churn myself, I can see the blue ring points in the direction that I'm facing. And once the blue ring matches up to the red ring, which points in the direction of the space that I want to go to, then I know that that's where I need to start walking. And so this works significantly better when you are actually in the cemetery and you need to know exactly where to go in order to get to your loved one's grave. And so,
so someone just asked, is there a step-by-step for this process? And while we don't have a document, why don't you show how you got to the navigate to grave?
Okay. So once you have a grave selected, whether that be via a search or just by tapping on a space in the cemetery. So if I tap on that space, and that information is then loaded up here at the top, I'm tapping the navigate to space blue button, which then brings up the option of walk to space or Google navigation. And then if I tap walk to space, and the very first time it asks me for permission to use my GPS and my orientation information. Because I answered yes to that the first time, it doesn't ask the second time. But up here at the top, there is an instructions button that if I tap that, this gives me the instructions on what the circles mean and how to use those.
And this would look a lot cooler if he was actually standing in the cemetery.
Yes, because you would actually see the cemetery map underneath of this and the location beacon moving inside of the cemetery. And then when you get within 15 feet, which is the best accuracy that we can get with GPS on a civilian device, you'll get a notification that will pop up that lets you know that your destination is nearby. Please please look around to find the exact destination. And then when you're done, you can tap the quick GPS, and then it dumps you back out to the original view.
All right, Nathan, you ready for another question?
Yeah.
Before we could only look up by block. Is that an option now? I think searching by location is kind of what we're asking.
Absolutely.
How do you search by location?
All right, let me get out of the cell phone mode. We'll go back to here. We'll go back to home. Under advanced search, there is a location option where you can add that in. And then from here, you can pick and choose how you want to filter things out. So I can choose section 1, block B, block 2, and then hit search. And then I have the burials for those that are in that section 1, block B, lot 2. If or if I wanted to limit it to just one particular block, you can do so. If you have multiple sections and they have multiple block Bs, you could limit it to just block B, which would then search every section's block B. Our demo cemetery is rather simplistic with its level design, where it's just one section, multiple lots per block. But you can choose from here how you wish to limit that information. And these stack, so if I had a name or if I added in a space type as well, all of this would combine together. So if I went to block F, and then with space type, because this is a constants dropdown in Sims, we also show it as a dropdown here as well. So from here, I can choose the premium ground spaces in block F and do a search. And because it is, again, thinking that it's only for interred, we don't have anybody buried in a premium ground space, which is why that came back as a blank result.
Okay, well, thank you, Nathan. Does anyone else have any questions? You can either put it in the chat or unmute yourself or raise your hand. Okay, well, I think we answered everything. Well, I just want to take a moment to say thank you for giving up some of your time today to learn more about burial search, and thank you for allowing us the privilege of helping to manage your cemetery records. If you think of any other questions after the fact, you can email me at brandon@rainmaker.com. But we look forward to continuing to improve both CIMS and burial search in the years to come.